the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. A Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight from Oklahoma City. The Thunder and Pacers tied at 2 games each in the 31 previous Finals series, tied at 2 games. The Game 5 winner has won the series 23 times. 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage on 910 ESPN. Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9-point favorites. Over in baseball, Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, 21 months removed from a second repair of his ulnar collateral ligament. SNY's Andy Martino reporting Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton will be activated off the injured list and make his season debut tonight against the Angels. Stanton was shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. And fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcoming in the now Rafael Devers-less Red Sox for a 3-game set. Logan Gilbert making his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. The Mariners second in the AL West, 4.5 games back of the Astros. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie?
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, what's happening? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, look at this. We're back.
You gentlemen
together.
have
Rust is over there.
good Father's Days?
Yeah. Father's Day was great. I don't know. My back hurt, so I felt like a real dad. It was like a dad day. Sat on the couch, watched a lot of U.S. Open. It was a good day, just hanging with the kids.
Yeah.
The whole Father's Day thing.
The whole
I don't know.
shebang.
I don't know. I think I'm just like I'm in dad mode where it's, I don't know. I don't do things for me. It's kind of a weird day to have like a whole day for your dads. So I just it was very low key.
Had the whole day be about you.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Rust?
Yeah, I
Makes me
spent most
feel
of the day
uncomfortable.
with my butt firmly parked on the couch.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it does feel weird. It's like you almost get a little bit of anxiety. Like, I feel like I should be doing something for somebody or with somebody or what have you. But yeah,
nah, man, that's
But
not how it works.
I just sat.
That's not how it works. I think that's most dads. And when you have a U.S. Open, when you have the U.S. Open every single year on Father's Day, boy,
Kind of a
that's
blessing.
That's a good little cheat code to have there.
Yeah. Especially with that ending.
Up to that point, it was pretty.
Yeah, but I mean with that ending.
That ending was great. That ending was fantastic. But I was just rooting for the course the whole day. I thought that was fun to see a golf course just make every single elite golfer in the world buckle at their knees. That's fun to me.
They were out there spraying it
enjoy
around
that.
like Banksy.
Watching, was it Justin Thomas? The announcer was like, that ball went 2 yards.
Well, look, everybody did that.
It was-
Rory did that.
it was-
Scheffler did. Like all of them were just like, I don't.
It was
I
just
don't even
insane to
know.
watch guys who play that level of golf.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm
Makes you feel
surprised
like me.
nobody came out of it without like a broken wrist.
Well, those guys are all so damn good, and the course doesn't have like that. They're not hitting off of tree roots, right? They're
True.
just coming through thick grass. It's just they don't know how to swing, so it feels like me. I don't know how hard I should swing this golf club a lot of the time because the times I'm like, you know what, really need to let it rip. Nope, that's not the time to do it. That's not the time to do it at all. And other times I'm like, yeah, I can't swing too hard, and it goes 2 feet. It felt very relatable. Wyndham Clark apparently busted up a couple of lockers. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been there, right? But now people are like, is Wyndham Clark bad for golf? He got upset at a T-Mobile sign a couple weeks ago too. What are we doing here?
Yeah, come on.
I mean, what Tyrrell Hatton was out there axing that club around several times yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hatton, I'm picking up what Hatton's putting down.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he swears a lot, but he's getting mad at himself. Who hadn't been there before?
Right.
And I can't remember who it was. There was a golfer that on the Wyndham Clark thing was like, dude, that is nothing compared to some of the stuff that I've seen happen in those locker rooms. Oakmont knows what they're getting themselves into, and there's going to be guys who get upset about it. Surely Wyndham Clark isn't happy with it. He's going to cut a check. Those lockers are going to be fine. It wasn't in front of a bunch of people. Get over yourselves. What are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Watching guys shoot 90 on a par 70 is great, though.
It is great. And we were talking about this on Friday, the whole idea of like, do you like it when you see guys like put up crazy scoring numbers, or do you like it when they get shoot up and spit out? I'm like, I like it when they get shoot up and spit out. Not all the time.
Not all
but
the time.
That's what I love about.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least one major every year.
Yeah. Well, it's the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that
it's
is
the U.S. Open every
that
year.
is going to chew you up.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. There's like a reset button of like, you remember what that's like?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been forever
No,
for you.
They don't remember what that's like because they never feel like that. But that's how we feel. That's how we feel. Except for the rough that we get caught up in is not 5.5 inches and 5.5 inches deep, and it does not have a superintendent going 2.5 years to try and figure out how to grow it as thick as they did there.
Yeah.
Like,
just
think about that.
brutal.
They said that the super at Oakmont spent the last 2.5 years just messing with different types of grass to say, you know what? We're going to screw with people here. I want this to be as thick and
it's not a cross between
juicy.
Bermuda and Sesame, but you know.
Isaac Ropp, roving reporter,
Hmm.
I. Everett Ropp. This is not in the news, but this is newsy. Corey Connors withdrew with a wrist injury after a shot in the rough.
Yeah.
Well,
There you go. I didn't see that one, but I'm not surprised because the way it was
No.
twisting things up.
I mean, those guys are still so damn good. That's the crazy part, is that you're watching them do stuff on a golf course that is unfathomable to us, and they're struggling mightily just to get it around, yet they're still spinning the ball back. They're still sinking 64-foot putts to win.
Mhm.
I mean, they're playing in rain that rain, everybody's like, oh, scores are going to get lower. Mm-mm. Because they were trying to adapt to the conditions, and then all of a sudden the conditions changed with all of the rain that came through, and they're like, all right, so how do I go about this now?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I
No.
loved it.
I did probably watch more golf this weekend than in a while, but for the first time in my life, I played 27 holes in a day.
Oh,
So I had a little bit of fun with that.
okay.
So I didn't get to watch as much on Saturday.
All right.
Locked in on Sunday, but I lived vicariously through my own horrible golf.
Where did you play?
Played 9 in the morning at Charbonneau, then I played 18 at Chehalem.
Okay.
I 91 at Chehalem, almost into the 80s,
Okay.
almost. So the golf game is improving.
All right.
It's improving.
All right. All right.
The old instructor down at Langdon took a look at the drive swing and had me change some things, and it led to some very awkward shots, but it also led to some of the best shots I've ever hit in my life.
Okay.
So I'm feeling good again, which means I'm ready to crash out and have a well over 100 again on some course that I just don't see coming.
Well, it's every course you don't see
Yeah,
coming.
Yeah.
Those ones you never know.
What I need to do is I've played more courses this year than I ever have.
Mhm.
I need to get out and experience more. I need to go
Yeah.
play more courses. But I tell you what, man, I've become a guy who loves playing solo. Just hopping in with a twosome or a threesome. It has been absolutely like every group I've jumped in with has been awesome. Like
Well, good.
I have yet to run into the grumpy golf guy. Like everybody I've hopped in with, man, like the golf community has been awesome.
Well, good.
I'm like, you know what? If you're somebody out there who's like, I don't know, I don't want to play solo, go. Just meet up with some random dudes and have a good time.
That's a drop.
Yeah, it is.
That's a drop
That
right
is.
there. That's a drop and a half. All right. Well, do you ever have this wonder when you get done playing? Then am I the weird guy then?
It's funny. That was the first thing that went through my head.
I could be. Yeah, I could be the weird guy. I could. You know what?
'Cause guess what? If you look around the room and you don't see the psycho, you the psycho.
Yeah. I mean,
I often have that where when that happens,
Yeah.
that's the thought that goes through my mind is like, that was good. That was a good time. There's no weirdos there. Ooh, might be me.
yeah. You know what? Again, I am the one that's going in solo by myself into other people's groups. So, yeah, that could be me.
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it's fine.
No, it's been a ton of fun.
Good. That is good. It's good to hear that you're getting out there. You got the golf bug.
Dude,
It's fun.
it's bitten and taken hold. Like this thing's like full on bird flu. Like there's no shaking this.
Yeah. I mean, you do know that, since you're saying your golf scores, that when you jump into these random groups, people are going to be hawking your score then
Oh no, perfect.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw something on, it was like one of those Reddit things that popped up on my feed where it was a guy saying, I've never heard of this. Has anybody else here? And it was a guy, rando, jumped into a group.
Mhm.
And he was playing, and the guy said, "Oh, looks like I'm going to be shooting, a new low for me." And they were like, "Oh, hey, that's good, man." And as the guy was going through, they got to like 12, and they were watching him, and he was not counting gimme putts as a stroke.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was not counting a gimme as a stroke. So they were sitting there going, "Wait a minute, did that guy? It took him 2 to get out of the woods. How did he birdie that hole?" And it turned out the guy was not counting any of his gimme putts, and he was being very aggressive with what he was giving
gimmies?
himself gimmies on. And
Dude, that's
one of the guys talked to him about it and gave him the are you counting your gimme putts? And the guy's reasoning was the rules are ambiguous in golf as to what a gimme is, because it's not actually in the rules to have a gimme putt. And so the Reddit thing was, has anybody else ever heard of this? And that guy got roasted in that Reddit thread.
Oh God, yeah. No, like even when when I've been playing with these groups, when guys like, oh no, you can pick up, I'm still like, you know what, man? I don't know what a gimme is for me. So if it's inside like 4 feet, I'm still gonna step up. Even if they say I can take it, I still step up and hit it.
Just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Costanza.
But like
There you go.
because I haven't played enough.
Yeah.
To be like, no, it's a gimme. Like, look, if it's like within a couple inches, sure, like that's fine. But like if anything like really 2 to 4 feet, like I want to step up and make it.
Yeah.
So that I know that's like, no, that is a gimme. Like that's doable. Like I did see one the other day. The length of your gimme was the length of your White Claws taped together.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that could turn out pretty well pretty quickly.
That seems like a very fun round.
Yeah.
Except for I'm not drinking just White Claws on a golf course, though.
You definitely don't want to tape together the birdie bottles.
No.
Because that's not helping you out much.
No, that's not. But birdie bottles are good.
Yeah.
The birdie bottles are good.
I don't get to those very often.
Pro tip out here. If your wife or significant other is ever upset about maybe you had a few too many on the golf course, be like, well, you should be proud of me, not mad at me.
Because it was a
That
good
means
day.
birdies. That means birdies were had. The birdie bottle was out.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're upset. Like, this is a productive day for me.
This is congratulations.
This was good.
Yeah.
This was not a bad thing. No. It doesn't work, but it's worth.
But it's worth a try.
It's the only argument you have at that point.
Good college try.
Yeah, is that well, they were for birdies. What do you want me to do here? There's nothing else I could tell you. I was playing good golf. We were on it right now, man. All right, Ken in Salem's NPGA tried too hard to make its open course difficult. It wasn't enjoyable golf to play or watch, comparable to running the Indy 500 on dirt. Yeah, I do agree with it was like watching the Indy 500 on dirt.
Yeah.
I do agree the PGA or the USGA did try too hard. In Oakmont specifically, they tried too hard. They probably have a little regrets on that. That did not make it unenjoyable for me to watch.
No. Again, this is the only event that's really like this, where it's like it wants to chew you up.
Was it the best indicator of the best golfer in the United States,
Not
which is what
necessarily.
the Open is? No, it was not. Because, I mean, to be honest, though, it's still Scotty Scheffler.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the truth. But what I enjoy about watching this tournament with the setup the way it was is the fact that sometimes you see these guys go through a mental grind that they don't get anywhere else, and how they react to it. That to me, it is enjoyable. Like to watch Rory with the magic club toss that he did. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
He threw his club and it just bounced right back to him like it was on a string.
Oh,
Like
no
he
kidding.
threw it and it just goes boom, and he wasn't even expecting. He was just trying to toss his club and it hit the right way, boom. But to watch these guys either melt down, be so frustrated with the game of golf that relatable
Yeah.
makes you think like he's not gonna quit, but then follow it up with some of the most incredible shots that you'll see. That to me, that is enjoyable for me to watch. To watch their faces when the ball goes right and they're like, "Oh no,
That's
I'm
the
who?"
exact spot I don't want to be.
Been there,
Mhm.
been there. I just wish I had people going and searching for my ball like they do,
Right?
Where they have a little flag right there. They're always finding that ball.
Yeah, look, because if you didn't, good luck. There, oof.
No, done.
Oof. Hard pass.
All right, let's get. Wow, that was sportsy today.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah. We
It's
got a lot
golf
that we got to
adjacent.
get to. We got a lot that we got to get to. We had the NBA Finals. Game 5 is tonight.
Yes.
Heading back to Oklahoma City.
boy, did we have a game 4.
Yeah. This is a good finals.
Not one you should be playing solitaire during.
Stephen A. Smith, man.
Shoot him into the sun.
How many times are these sorts of things going to happen? And it's just like, shrug it on off.
Mhm.
Actually, we do that in a lot of aspects of our culture now. We have some more Pac-12 expansion updates. Actually, some news,
There you go.
some actual news.
Patrick Harris doesn't want to hear it.
He doesn't.
No, he says, stop pitying us. Just let us be.
He's not wrong, especially with the way that the news was right now. I mean, this is not the best of the best news. We got the Beavs in the College World Series. Win one, lose one. And I think the big news of the day, though, is, hey, we are 9 days away from the NBA draft.
Yes.
9 times. We are 9 days away from the NBA draft. You talked about this on Friday, or you had the news on Friday, Blazers workouts, but there's a lot of, I want to say, there's a lot of smoke surrounding the Portland Trailblazers as we get closer and closer to the NBA draft. And one of them, Rip City Internet went crazy yesterday because Desmond Bain got traded to the Orlando Magic.
Dun, dun, dun.
Two teams that have nothing to do with Portland, yet everybody was connecting the dots to the Blazers. Is there anything there? Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Go just meet up with some random dudes and have a good time.
It's
Well, we're 9 days away from the NBA draft, the day after the Fan Golf Classic.
Indeed,
Which-
8 days away.
By the way, this is the final week for you to sign up for the Fan Golf Classic. Your local Toyota dealers present the 11th annual Fan Golf Classic out at Langdon Farms Golf Club. Also brought to you by Henderson and Daughter Window and Doors, Philbrook Law, accident and injury attorneys. We have the afternoon round is completely sold out. Done.
Gandhi.
No more spots in the afternoon round. We only have a handful of morning round slots available. So time is running out. Get your foursome signed up for the morning round on Tuesday, June 24th. Victoricos will have the breakfast burritos before you tee off. Matt's Barbecue will have you set after the round. Toyota is sponsoring a hole-in-one challenge on one of the par threes.
Oh.
Registration ends on Sunday. So head to 1080thefan.com, click on the Fan Golf Classic logo, and sign your team up today. It is next Tuesday. The day after that, the NBA draft. The Blazers hold the 11th overall selection in the draft. You mentioned on Friday, and you had it Friday, that Blazers workouts are really starting to ramp up.
Yeah, they brought in a group that included Yegor Demon and a couple of the guys that you're expecting kind of in that range, and you're just like, okay. As I understand it, the Blazers are going to have probably one more workout between now and the draft, and that will include guys that were supposed to be a part of that workout, that they weren't in that workout because they picked up a knock.
Okay.
So nothing serious, but it prevented those guys from being in what was kind of looked at as kind of like the workout of the cycle, not just for the Blazers, but just like the biggest workout of like dudes that could go anywhere from 6 through 14.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, they got all those guys in there, huh? Like, okay. One of the guys that nobody's going to be able to work out is Noah Senge, who's playing over in Germany. They advanced in their playoffs. So he's actually a guy that is rising up as the most likely guy to be the disruptor in the top 10. That there's a team, whether it be Brooklyn, whether it be Toronto, that goes, hey, because he had his measurements done they had to have them done, but I think by Saturday was the last day for measurements for the European guys. Measured in, I believe, at 6'10" barefoot with just over a 7-foot standing reach, or not, should be 7-foot wingspan.
Jeez.
So he's actually taller than I think people thought. 6'10" barefoot. He's grown, I think, about 1.5 inches since last year. Because remember, Ratio Farm Ulm came here in the preseason with Asenge and Ben Saraf, the Israeli point guard. And he's somehow, like, even despite being kind of limited, I think, offensively, he just finds a way to produce. And I think he's a guy that people are looking at like, could he be Pascal Siakam?
How do you spell Noah Asenge?
So Noa, first name, is Noah, and then Asenge is Essengue.
Oh, boy, I was way off.
Ah, Swanson,
Samsonite.
He's way off. But again, he measured, I think, longer than I think people thought, but also maybe a little shorter wingspan. Just seeing him in person, just because he looks so rangy, I was expecting kind of like a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan.
Boy. Yeah, 6'9", 194. I think the 194 makes him look a lot longer.
Yeah, well, he weighed in, I think, at 205.
Okay.
So he's an inch plus taller and 10 plus pounds heavier already than when he started the season.
All right.
So, and he's going to be the second youngest guy in the draft. Only Flag is younger than him. And Flag's birthday is
6'10"
December.
forward. All right.
Yeah, and he just does stuff, but it's kind of the mystery box. But so leading up to drafts on the media side of things, when you start getting intel, whether it's talking to front offices or talking to scouts or talking to agents or depending on who you talk to, typically by now we usually have a pretty good understanding of how things are probably going to go.
No idea.
Throw that out the window right now.
Gone.
After 2, Philly is just an unknown. Like, what's Daryl going to do? I think the general belief is they're going to make the pick, but they are putting so many different things out there right now. Like, when you talk about smoke season, buddy, it's full on 5-alarm fires as far as the smoke that they're generating. Another team that is doing the same is the Brooklyn Nets, who have a metric crap ton of picks. I've heard of multiple promises from various agents and scouts and folks around, and I'm like, that seems kind of weird. That's not how the Nets operate. Not only would that's not how they operate. That's something a little weird because they have so many picks, which means they have so much volatility because they could trade back, they could trade up, they could trade out. Like you just never know. So why would you make promises? And I've heard of multiple promises that they've made. And I'm just like, that's weird. Like it's one thing to maybe promise a guy with their second pick. I could see that because I think their second's like 17th. 17th or 18th, but like I could see that. Okay, I that's around the range that you get those. It's a little more unusual to get promises in the top 10. Not unheard of, but certainly a little more unusual. But as you start to frame this, you start to kind of get an understanding of like who's might be available when the Blazers pick. And normally you'd be like, oh yeah, you have a pretty firm grasp on these three guys. Well, almost certainly be available. That's not the case this year. Like, whether it's a guy like Kasparas Giakoučiūnas or Yegor Demin or Carter Bryant or like you just kind of like name guy here. You don't know. You just don't know. Like, is Toronto going to be a team because, with Masai there, they've favored maybe going after some project kind of guys, whether it be, an OG Anunoby or Pascal Siakam or Scotty Barnes. Yeah, they took him higher, but like these are longer, rangier dudes, and that's kind of how they tried to make their entire team basically like 6'8", 6'9", and go down that path. Or do they go for something that's maybe a little more solid? And so, like because of ownership situation in Toronto and their desire to maybe get back into the fold a little bit, especially with a wide open Eastern Conference, does that change the style of how they do things? Does Brooklyn see themselves like kind of having to reach for the stars in front of them? Houston, everybody wants to point to them as a team for Kevin Durant. Gun to my head, I don't think the Rockets are going to go get Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're not going to pay out the nose for him.
No. And this leads us to something that it caused a bit of a stir on Thursday when Anthony Simons went to social media and posted a photo of a hug between he and Ja Morant and then him going up for a dunk against the Memphis Grizzlies. There was a lot of, Blazers, Ant, Memphis, what's going on here? Nothing came of that on Thursday or Friday. Saturday, still nothing. But yesterday, the Memphis Grizzlies did make a move, and that brought around everybody else coming back to, all right, are the Blazers going to get in on a deal? And today, sportsbetting.ag has odds for Ja Morant's next team. The Portland Trailblazers have 10-1 odds to have Ja Morant. Should we think these are connected? The Orlando trade where Desmond Bane goes to Orlando for 4 first-round picks, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Cole Anthony? Or is this a nothing burger? First is Russ with SportsCenter.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Mixed plates like Grandma used to make if your grandma were from the Big Island. Woodstock, Burnside, Beaverton, or online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on the Fan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals coming up tonight from Oklahoma City. The series tied at 2 games each between the Thunder and Pacers. 31 previous final series tied at 2 games apiece. The Game 5 winner has won that series 23 times. 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage on 910 ESPN. Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9.5-point favorites. SNY's Andy Martino reporting Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton has been activated off the injured list and will make his season debut tonight against the Angels. He was shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, now 21 months removed from a second repair of his ulnar collateral ligament. And fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcome in the Red Sox for 3. Logan Gilbert making his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. The Mariners are second in the AL West, 4.5 games back of the Astros. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com.
Portland Trailblazers currently have the 6th best odds to land Ja Morant in a trade. Something I didn't see coming if you would have talked to me at this time last week. But here we are, fast forward a little bit, and it now appears that the Blazers could land Ja Morant. Anthony Simons has a cryptic post on social media that people ran with.
I would say, I'll go with some firsthand knowledge here. The guy can't just post some pictures.
Not this time of year. No.
Look,
are you familiar with the National Basketball Association and the shenanigans that happen this time of year?
If I was an NBA player, I would be so unhinged in this time of year, around the trade deadline and around draft free agency.
Yeah.
I would just be posting pictures and emojis. I'm honestly surprised that like Blake Griffin's the only one that's ever really done it.
As long as he's not like disgruntled about people overreacting. But if you're going to post something with zero context, people, you should expect people to be like, I'm going to try to read between the lines. It's
I will
the
say,
NBA.
to be fair too, Ant does have ties to Memphis, not just the basketball team, but the city of Memphis, and Penny Hardaway, Jaden Hardaway is one of his best friends. Like he has a lot of his dad's from Tennessee. Like those, like that's where a lot of that stuff comes from.
Well, that picked up even more steam after it died down relatively quickly. Like the internet only lasts for a couple of hours. But then it picks back up because of the fact that Memphis did make a big trade. And immediately people were drawing the lines to not Ja Morant in Portland, but Desmond Bane in Portland with the Memphis Grizzlies when Ant had that post on Snapchat. Well, Desmond Bane did get traded yesterday. Bane gets traded to Orlando. The Magic send to Memphis Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, the 16th pick in this year's draft, a 2028 first-round pick, a 2030 first-round pick, and a pick swap wedged in between in 2029. None of them have protections on them. Well, obviously the 16th pick does not.
And then the swap, or not the swap, the last pick has a very light protection on the back of it.
This is just, first of all, that is an insane haul for Desmond Bane, who is a very good player.
And that's the thing is, I think in general, I think we'll disagree on it being an overpay. It's under this CBA, there have been deals like Denny, trading for Denny. People are like, oh my God, they gave up so much for Denny. And it's like, then you see Denny playing, you're like, did they? No, I don't think so. I think they got it about right.
I've seen Desmond Bane for 5 years, though, and he's good. He's a very good
player. Here's the thing. What Orlando did was they scanned not just the market, because Desmond Bane wasn't on the market. They scanned the league for player at a certain age, at a certain position that did things that they wanted, which was they wanted a plus offensive player who was a plus defensive player who was physical. And that narrowed the net that was cast very tightly. There was, a handful of players that were going to meet this criteria. And then they make an offer that Memphis has to take. Because did you see Kleiman's press conference afterwards?
No.
He basically said, we ran up against it. This is it. Like, we had to make a change. And now, if you look at the two other guys that are left in Ja and Jaren, like Jaren's a defensive player of the year. Ja is a no doubt all-star. Now,
Jaren Jackson
Jr., yes. But with Ja Morant, you have the other stuff. But like, what's harder to get? The 7-foot unicorn who's a defensive player of the year who can stretch the floor and like be the anchor of your defense, or a really good two guard?
Yeah. And that is where you go over. That's where it's like an overpay. Well, yeah. I mean, you can sit there, you can find those guys. You can find guys, and now he does it at a higher level, and it's
on
proven.
Both ends
of the floor. He is plus 100%, but they needed shooting in Orlando. We know that. They also need creation to open things up for Paolo and Franz. And did they get that? They didn't get the creator that is going to garner the gravity that you need.
I do think they did in a sense. So number one, you're this move is predicated on Jalen Suggs repeating his shooting form before he got injured, like being a plus shooter. Because with Paolo and Franz, those are the guys they're going to handle. Those are going to be the creators. The problem is that when they were kicking out, nobody's rotating because nobody gave a damn because the shooting just wasn't there. Now, if Desmond Bane is a 40+% three-point shooter on volume, and Jalen Suggs is a 38% three-point shooter on at least decent volume, now you've got two absolute bowling balls in Paulo and Franz, who were, even if they're not plus defenders, they're so big, they're so strong, they're so mobile that they're going to be difficult to deal with. Jalen Suggs, who's one of the best point of attack defenders in the league, and Desmond Bane, who's a very good defender, they're going, look at Indiana, look at OKC, look at Houston, look at the teams that are young and that are up and coming. And we talked about this a couple months ago, the difference between the weakest link versus the strongest link. And I think there's a lot of teams in the league right now that are looking at the NBA Finals and going, yeah, it's great if we can have one of the three best players in the NBA. Super helpful. And, with the Thunder, they have that. But you look at the Pacers, and they're right there, and they don't. They've got maybe a top 10 player. Maybe I think you can make the argument for Hallie. But it's more about they don't have any weaknesses. And if you look at the Magic going into next year in the Eastern Conference, if everyone's healthy, you're looking at a lineup of Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, Goga Bitadze.
All right. I then counter with this because this is going to be the big one. You give up your first-round pick in 28, 29, 30. Well, it's a swap in 29.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you get better when we know that the cap is far more punitive? Orlando is not the most cash flush of organizations that are going to be willing to pay over in that second apron. When Franz is going to be making, let's just take the 2027 season.
Yeah.
Okay. You're paying Franz $45 million, Bane $42 million, Suggs $30 million, and oh, by the way, Paulo Banchero is in the final year of his rookie deal this year, so you're going to be paying him Franz money, if not more. And how do you get better if you don't have any young talent coming in because your picks are gone?
Yeah, and here's the thing. So if you're Orlando, what you made this move because Boston's taking a step back with Tatum out for the year. The Bucks are, if they keep Giannis, which it sounds like it might end up going that way, which is, I think, a bit of a surprise to everybody. But the Bucks are probably out. You've got the Pacers and you've got the Cavs. Those are the teams that you're looking at, and then probably Detroit, right? If you're Orlando, if you're healthy, and you've got Jalen, Desmond, Franz, Paulo, there's no reason the reason you make this move is because the window's wide open, and you could talk yourself into doing what Indiana did this year, coming out of the East. I think it's pretty easy to if you're in that organization to see the path that they're going down, and if you do that, then okay, if you get to that point, the end of 2027, and you've got four, and we talked about you can't have three anymore, let alone four. If one of those guys is still as good, but just maybe the fit isn't there, that's how you get it done. You move Franz for, the depth, and you go recoup some of the draft capital, or you go get young guys that you add the depth to your team, or you move Jalen Suggs and you get, because all these guys are young. The oldest guy in this is Bane, who's 26. He'll be 27, I think, next month, something like along those lines. But he's the oldest of the group. So, and you've still got Anthony Black, you've still got Tristan da Silva, you've got Jonathan Isaac's money, which you can use to kind of move some things around. Like, they're not completely out of everything. And the thing is about this, and I think this is going to be the move, not necessarily the magic, but like the defining part of this CBA is you get two. But if you've got four like they do right now, or like the Celtics have had, you get a 2-year window with four. But after that, you have to move.
And that right there is why I applaud what Orlando did. We'll get to that next. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
It's time.
The Orlando Magic overpaid for Desmond Bane. I think that. They gave up KCP, Cole Anthony, which was a fan favorite or loved in Orlando, but they gave up essentially 4 first-round picks. 2 in one's a swap, and then this year you gave up the 16th pick, but 2 unprotected bona fides in 2028 and 2030.
And
you gave up unprotected first-round picks. That is a lot.
And you look at that because that's your window that you expect to be good.
But this is where I applaud the Orlando Magic, and this is something that we have not seen the Portland Trailblazers do. And this is something that I think the fan base desperately wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm. In the previous era.
Did not do it. And they are still pretty silent on what's going to happen this year, but there is an opportunity to make some moves. But what Orlando saw was that they have talent and they have an opportunity to get exponentially better.
Mm-hmm.
And right or wrong, they are going in. And they're saying, no, we're gonna give this a run, and we're gonna try to make this work, and we're gonna believe in it, and we're gonna take a big swing, and it might connect for us, and if it does, it could be a transcendent move for us. It's a risk, and there's a lot of Orlando fans that are upset, like going, dude, really? Do you think we're that good right now? Yeah. But they're going for it, and they're not afraid to make this move right now and say, we're pushing our chips to the middle of the table.
I think Indiana's run has done a lot to embolden front offices in the sense of if you're convicted and you believe in the pillars and what you're building, that you can really make something happen. And look, over the last 10 days, we've talked a lot about Carlisle. We haven't talked about Kevin Pritchard or Chad Buchanan enough because
they've been amazing.
What they have done over the last 5 years, from the time they brought in Carlisle to getting Halliburton and making the move for Siakam, those are the ones that stand out. But trading 2 second-round picks for Obi Toppin, trading for Nesmith, taking Shepard, just like taking second chances on guys, because that's what you have to do in Indiana. It's very, very, very similar to Portland. As far as
Portland should get guys like Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan.
Yeah. That one's tough. But I think they are doing similar things here in Portland, where they get a second contract guy like Denny, who they believed in. And genuinely, I think the way Denny turned out this year was even better than they anticipated. And the way they kind of look at him going forward has probably changed a little bit. And so if you look at this organization right now, if you're a fan or front office, to me, the Blazers have 2 untouchables in 2 and Denny. And you can make a conversation for the young guys in, could Donovan be that in a couple of years? Could Scoot be that in a couple of years? Could Shaden be that in a couple of years? Because they're all still so young. But again, I'm saying they have the 2 that they know, and I wonder if you're the Blazers and you're looking at your roster right now, do you look at Scoot or Shaden? And I'm not leaving Donovan out of this because I don't think he's good, but I just think because his offense is lesser, he doesn't factor in.
He's a rookie.
Yeah. But do you start kind of building this team out? Do you have an idea now? Is like where some people are like, oh, this is a Scoot and Shaden team, where in the span of 6 months, did this turn into a Denny and 2 team?
Yeah, I think the Scoot and Shaden folks, that was an aggressive play from the get-go, which I'm not sure what you saw to say it was a Scoot and Shaden team, but okay. I do think that
complements that
Denny and
forward.
2, because Denny built off of what was a solid year in Washington. And then what we saw, especially the back half of this year in Portland,
monster.
It was pretty good. You're looking at a guy you're like, all right, solid 2 on a really good team. Like as of this year, Toumani Camara makes an all defensive team. That is a building block type player, and you saw growth out of him. But make a big swing now and say, all right, we've got an expiring contract in DeAndre Ayton. We've got an aging veteran, which I don't remember the last time we saw Jeremy Grant play in the month of April.
It hasn't been for 3 years.
Okay. you forget about Jeremy Grant, still a Blazer,
Still a Blazer.
still a Blazer.
Mhm.
Okay, is Anthony Simons on the table? Like
Yeah.
because that's one guy you really didn't mention there, who's a really damn
Yeah.
good scorer.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like
Score.
if you're building around Two and Denny, I think you look at a guy like Anthony as a guy who matters going forward because while Two and Denny certainly improved as shooters, that kind of leads you down the path that's more Orlando Houston-y,
Yeah,
where you're defensively you're bigger, longer, stronger, more physical, but you're maybe lacking the shooting, which is why Orlando went and identified a guy like Desmond Bane, who gives them 3-level scoring. Like, yes, Bane's a good 3-point shooter. I don't think people realize that Desmond Bane's a really, really good mid-range shooter. Like, and he gets to that spot a ton, and he's very good there. But as it pertains to Portland, I don't think that they've got a move pocketed right now for like Denny 2.0 of like another like diamond in the rough. But I think they're probably looking at things and going, okay, if we're going to be a Denny-centric team, and I'm not saying that as like a James Harden-led team where he's going to have like a 30% usage rate, but like you're like, we think he can be a 20 and 10 guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying 10 assists, 10 rebounds. Like when they made that move, I said that at his peak, I thought he'd be like 17, 18, and 7, which is a really good player. But if he's a 20 and 10 guy and playing 34 minutes a night, like all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's a dude. If he's giving you 20, 10, and 5, the list of guys that can do that at that size, like, and I don't want to make the comparison, you're getting into like the Tatums and Brawns and Lucas of the world. Like he would be the least of those superstars, but that's a hell of a player. And you throw two in there and you kind of go, okay, what are the players that help maximize that? And you have to kind of do what Orlando did. And you have to narrow that net down to the 2-3 guys that you think, whether it's an in-prime guy like Desmond, because I think Orlando's further along in the cycle than Portland is, or do you go and try and find that next version of that guy? Like another guy that you think can be that guy.
Well, then you got to go make it happen.
Mhm.
And that's where I will tip the cap to Orlando. Overpay or not, they made it happen.
They identified the guy that
They
they wanted,
made it
and they
happen.
went and did it. And that it honestly shocked me because Orlando is a team that does not give up assets. When was the last time they gave up assets? Like just think of a move off the top of your head. That,
I
like,
don't follow Orlando,
but
nearly close enough.
But I mean,
to
does
know that.
anything stand out in your head of like, oh yeah, no, they went and like that's not their MO. It doesn't matter who's running in their front office.
Penny Hardaway
It's been a long time. So
when they moved Shaquille O'Neal,
I mean, they lost him, but
they lost him.
Yeah,
in
but-
free agency.
I mean,
When they didn't trade for Tim Duncan.
that one they tried. That one they tried to do. That's one of those ones that I don't think people realize was a lot closer to happening than actually realized. That was oh boy.
Whoa, Nelly.
But yeah, no, again, applaud Orlando for like I like seeing a team that looks at this and goes, because I can talk myself into them being one of the top 3 teams in the East right now. I
Yeah.
can.
All right.
Is there a move out there for the Blazers that can vault them into the top 4 of the West right now without trading for an absolute superstar?
No, but you can build your future even brighter.
Yeah, and I think that
And
If they-
accelerate what you already have.
if they made a move, I don't think it would be as much capital that involved Denny, but I could see them making a move that's like a guy that's younger. If they like, let's say they traded Jeremy Grant and they got back like more veteran players that kind of spread around the roster and maybe some draft capital, and like all of a sudden there's maybe a spot in the starting lineup that made sense. You could either move Denny to the 3, or you could go get a 3 and keep Denny at the 4, or you could get a 4 and move Denny to the 3. One of those kind of situations. Then I think you could start having that conversation. But I think you have to understand who you're going to have on the roster first before you go and do that.
All right, hour 1 in the books. Heading into hour number 2, we've got NBA Finals Game 5 heads back to Oklahoma City. We got the Oregon State Beavers in Omaha. The Omaha Beavs win one, drop one over the weekend. But where we start hour number 2 is expansion is close. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals coming up tonight from Oklahoma City. The Thunder and Pacers tied at 2 games each. 31 times the finals has been tied at 2. The Game 5 winner has won the series 23 times. It's a 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage over on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9-point favorites. Fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcome in the Red Sox 4-3. Logan Gilbert on the bump for his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, now 21 months removed from a second repair of his UCL. And SNY's Andy Martino reporting Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton activated off the injured list and will make his season debut tonight against the Angels. Stanton was shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Danny and Dusty.
My Uncle Gus is the uncle that likes to work the grill. As soon as he walk in the house, it's like, get away from that grill. You don't know how to start no fire.
With the latest on the Blazers, Ducks, Beavers, and the hottest topics in sports.
We're going to eat a hamburger, okay? Here we go. Chandler, throw the match. Now that's a fire.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm not cooking a brontosaurus burger.
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. Something's happening in Omaha right now.
Oh,
Something is happening in Omaha right now.
don't you dare say it out loud.
I'm not going to. Gagewood, everybody. What a great name. Too.
Right?
Great name. I'm not going to say it. Arkansas versus Murray State, playing well. The Razorbacks are. All right. We could be closer and closer to expansion in the Pac-12. As it currently stands, the Pac-12 is at 7. They need 8 to be a football conference moving forward. And Gonzaga.
Which is kind of fitting considering they're the one basketball school.
Yeah. Well, Pete Thamel and Kyle Bonagura of ESPN, they're hot on the trail of what the Pac-12 is going to do. And this popped up. Texas State appears to be the next addition to the Pac-12.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit on Friday.
Get excited for San Marcos.
I mean, they're better than they were.
Yeah.
Like what? I'll put this to you.
Mhm.
What's the best possible team they could truly get? Texas State, Memphis. Was UTSA on that like a year ago?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then UNLV and Air Force were also in
Yeah.
there. And I think that UNLV would have been the best one that you could have
Yes.
gotten.
Regionally, it makes
In
more
that-
sense.
UNLV would have made a lot more sense, but they stuck around in the Mountain West for God knows why. Well, more money. But that would have been position A. Memphis would have been position 2. Tulane was in there
Mhm.
for a while, but you know, as it is sorting itself out, Memphis is still an option as a football only school, according to the reporting, and that is a football only with all their other sports transitioning to the Big East Conference. In Memphis is a no doubter. I think it was 11 straight bowl games that they've gone to. They have made good coaching hires. It's in a recruiting ground that you want to be in, and that's like if you look at Texas State, they got. G.J. Kinney is their coach. Good coach. Actually, one of the rising stars, young coaches. Probably not going to be long for Texas State if he replicates back-to-back 8 and 5 seasons in San Marcos, which are really damn good. But Texas State is in Texas. And it's right in between. If you don't know where it is, it's smack dab right in the middle of Austin and San Antonio. And that's kind of where they are attractive to you. right? You're in a very fertile recruiting ground. You can go down, recruit kids from Texas. You can tell them that, hey, we're going to be playing in your home state at some point while you're here. Okay. That is valuable to have. Outside of that, they've gone 8-5 the last 2 years. Besides that, they've had one winning season as an FBS program. They've gone 8-5, 8-5, then 4-8, 4-8, 2-10, 3-9, 3-9, 2-10, 2-10, 3-9, 7-5 under Dennis Francione, 6-6, 4-8. It is a school that has struggled. The world needs ditch diggers too, and that is kind of what they would be. They want an enhanced payday. They would get that in the Pac-12, but
They know they're needed.
the other aspect of this is that the part of the reporting of Samuel Bonaguro is that payday ain't going to be what they were pitched the Pac-12 conference. It's going to come in under $10 million per school, which if you think about it, Memphis, who is rumored to be contemplating a Big East and Olympic sports move and a football move to the Pac-12, they got $11 million from the American. Now, the Big East basketball revenue paired with a football rev share would get them over $11 million. But it's not going to be this haul that is going to get Tulane to say, yep, we want to come out, or any coinciding moves to get UNLV away from the Mountain West. If Memphis does leave the American, the Mountain West could be in quite a pickle, because then you would have Army, Navy, and an opening for Air Force to go into the American Athletic Conference.
And then all of a sudden that gets real dicey.
And
that's the leverage play you maybe use if you do try to circle back to UNLV.
Yeah. I think the Texas State one, you need an 8th team just to round this thing out. There aren't a ton of great options out there. Go ahead, make that move. Texas State isn't going to hurt you. The question then becomes, is the Pac-12 with that slate of Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State, Texas State, those 8 schools, are you the leader in the clubhouse for the group of 6 conferences that get an at-large or an automatic bid to the college football playoff? I think you are in a really good position with Washington State, Oregon State, and Boise State especially. The idea that Fresno State and San Diego State could Fresno could pop back up, San Diego State could pop and have staying power, that is attractive. But that's the position you want to be in, is, are we in the group of 6 conversation? Is that schedule good enough to say, all right, that Boise State, that Oregon State team, they're good enough to make the college football playoff? I think it is, because the bottom of the Mountain West is still the bottom of the Mountain West, and Boise State's been playing them for years, and they have cachet and they have credibility.
And now all of a sudden, if you take that from 1 team in the Mountain West to 3 in the new version of the Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8, whatever the hell they end up calling this, and then let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say Fresno State and San Diego State do cycle up and at least have relevancy. Not peak Fresno State teams that are giant killers, or San Diego State having a 10 or 11 win season, but just say that they're continual 7 to 9 win teams. Now all of a sudden you went from 1 or 2 to 3 to 4 or 5. How many other of the lesser conferences can say they have 3, let alone potentially 4 or 5?
But this is always the question: is that good for your group of 5? Because dominance is what gets those group of 5 or now group of 6 conference teams in. And you need to have 1 or 2 of those games, but this is a conference that's lining up to be 4, 5, and 6 of those games where it's like, oh, those are pretty solid and they can bite you, where you just need to rack up wins. And this is where it's like the damned if you do, damned if you don't in the group of 6 world. Hell, you could take that out of it when the Pac-12 was a Power 5 conference. Look at the College World Series. Oregon State, Arizona, UCLA, all in Omaha right now. This isn't because Arizona all of a sudden went to 6 months of being in the Big 12 and their fortunes changed.
No.
It wasn't because UCLA went to the Big 10 and was like, hey, look at us. Look at, we figured this out. No, it was the middle of the pack of the Pac 12, whether it was football, where you saw Arizona State go to the college football playoff in their first year in the Big 12. You saw Oregon go 13-0 in the Big 10 in their first year. The Pac-12 never got enough credit for how good the middle was. The middle was good. And they cannibalize each other. And when you're out west, people just go, it's just not very good.
Yeah.
It's just not very good. Whereas the SEC and the Big 10, they get the benefit of the doubt. And they're like, no, they are pretty good. By the way, Colorado, which was a disaster in the Pac-12, they damn near won the Big 12 too.
They had an opportunity to win the Big 12.
That was always my argument about the Pac-12, and it makes me feel good that, unfortunately, when it all blew up, that all of those schools
were good.
Actually did something with it. They actually did something with it when they left, and exception of Cal and Stanford, who were on the outside and they got a life raft from the ACC.
But Stanford is wholly different because they were very good for a very sustained period of time, where Cal is Cal.
Now, if Memphis does in fact come over and they are a football-only member, I think there's no doubt about it. That's the best damn group of 6 conference out there, and they should be getting the benefit of the doubt over the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the AAC, the MAC. And they
as much as we love our
be
MAC,
that team.
but they should
Conference
be
USA,
the next one there.
But as it stands right now, it's a 8-team conference, so you play 7 conference games. You probably have a rival built in there where you either play 2 games. So Oregon State would play Washington State twice. Fresno State would play San Diego State twice. Boise State and Utah State play twice. And you go some machination of that just to get to 8 conference games.
And then their non-con, Oregon State plays Oregon, Washington plays Washington State.
And you get 4 non-conference games. Like, you're forced into even if Memphis does come along, and they're saying that would be in 2027, I think is when it would be, that they would come over. If Memphis does, you still have an 8-game conference schedule that has balance. You play everybody in the conference, and then you still have 4 non-conference games where you can say, all right, it's our year to kind of make a statement, and you play that Boise State route where they're like, we'll take it on the road.
Yeah.
You want an extra home game? We'll go play it.
Cool.
Georgia, we'll go play you in the kickoff classic in the Georgia Dome and just see what we got. We'll go play Oregon, and we'll go play USC or Ohio State, and you take all comers when you know that is your year to ramp up and you need a quality win, or you need a tight game, like what Boise had this past year at Oregon.
Yeah, 100%. And that's that. Again, we've been talking about this stuff for 2 whole years plus. The future of whatever pack insert number here turns into, and this is it coming to fruition in one vein or another, where you kind of look at it and go, is this something that I can grab a hold of, and it's more than a life raft? Like, you're back on the boat now. Now, you're not sitting, if you're using the cruise ship analogy, you're not sitting in the penthouse suite with a big overlook of the ocean, but you're not in the cellar. Like, you've got a deck level view with a small window.
Yep.
You don't have the wraparound porch, but hey, this is fancier living. This is more comfortable. You're not, sitting in the hammocks and the bunks and like Navy style, sharing beds with everybody on different shifts. You're living not the good life, but the better life. And I'm not saying that as like you should be happy, Oregon State, Washington State. You shouldn't be. But this was always the path of like, just keep it going until you get like, stretch the rations, make them last until you get pulled back onto the boat. And this feels like them getting pulled back into the boat.
And I hope we're there.
Yeah.
I hope we're there. All right, blockbuster trade in Major League Baseball, and a star pitcher for a rival commented on it. Danny Dusty on the Fan. Major League Baseball yesterday. Not many baseball topics or trades that are worthy of discussion. This one is.
Yeah, the Boston Red Sox got tired of old Devers whining.
The Giants have acquired three-time All-Star Rafael Devers from Boston on Sunday. It's a big-time trade. I mean, they mentioned him as this is our organization.
Mm-hmm.
He is moving forward, going to be the face of the Sox. Then they went out and they got Alex Bregman. And they're like, oh, well, I mean, things are going to change. Remember during spring training, the whole, hey, going to play third base, Devers? And he's like, that's my position. Which a guy who is told that he is going to be the face of the organization, Rafael Devers probably had a good reason to feel that way.
Sure.
But Alex Bregman rakes and has a better glove.
Mm-hmm.
That led to a lot of consternation. He didn't hit well at the beginning of the year. Devers didn't. He was kind of slumping. They were moving him around, trying out first base, DH. We're going to see where this kind of sits for him, and if he ever gets happy. He didn't. So yesterday, the Red Sox trade him to the Giants for left-hander Kyle Harrison, right-hander Jordan Hicks, a prospect James Tibbs III, great name, and a rookie right-hander Jose Bello, all in return. That's a big deal. He's getting paid $250 million, by the way.
And remember, the Giants have Matt Chapman, who is injured right now at third base.
But a really good third baseman.
So which way does that kind of go? I want to read for you real quick a tweet from 2022. And we can talk about the implications of this later. But this is from Bill Simmons, noted Boston sports guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait for the Rafael Devers for 5 prospect trade. That's next. Let's keep cutting those costs for 2024 so you can sell the Red Sox and redirect the money for Vegas NBA expansion team with LeBron, guys. That's a tweet from almost 3 years ago. You can look at the tea leaves for the Boston Red Sox and the Fenway Sports Group. It's not a secret in the NBA sector that Fenway Sports Group and LeBron James are kind of the clubhouse leaders for Las Vegas expansion. It's been like that since basically COVID. But whether it was Mookie Betts or now Devers or their lack of a willingness to pay anybody else or to invest in anybody truly long-term, lets you know kind of where Fenway Sports Group stands as it pertains to the Red Sox right now.
Well, I think this also coincided today with Liverpool, who Fenway Sports Group also owns, saying that they are going to spend money this year.
Well, if you divest from one team,
yeah,
I think honestly, because look, don't get me wrong, there's money to be made in baseball. There's more money to be made in the NBA and soccer.
Yeah. Well, Clayton Kershaw had quite the interview on Sunday Night Baseball last night. The Dodgers were playing the Giants, and Kershaw just brought it up. They mentioned about a trade, and then he jumped right in. This is one of the best pitchers for the rival of the San Francisco Giants on the Devers trade.
Another number for you. So 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts. 2018 World Series, you against Rafael Devers.
Yeah, how about that trade? That's wild. Buster's really doing it. Not only Buster Posey's really doing it over there. Good for Buster, man. He's going for it. I consider Rafi one probably, top 10 hitters in the game at worst.
Right.
So he's definitely a game changer. It'd be interesting to see what position he plays over there. I know they have a big prospect at first base coming, so it'd be interesting to see if he plays first. Obviously, they have Matt Chapman, who's one of the best in the game at third. So even if he's just DH for however long that contract is, I don't even know what they gave up. I know Harrison was supposed to pitch today, so
exactly.
He's a good one. He is a good one, but I don't know, man. It makes him better right now for sure.
Right there, you have Clayton Kershaw just going in. By the way, he's going to be a great analyst if he ever wants to do that and not sit on just his mountain of money afterwards, after his playing career is done. But Clayton Kershaw just saying, in laying it all out there, as a guy who plays for the rival but in the division, knows their lineup inside and out, because that's his job to do it. Going down, I know they have a great prospect at first. I know they have Chapman at third, but even if he's just a DH. But what the Giants just traded for is the same situation that Devers did not want in Boston. And so you open up a full can of worms right there. And then Kershaw goes in, and this is where the Red Sox fans have all of the vitriol to be spewing at the organization.
Yeah, Kyle Harrison was in the deal. Tibbs was in the deal.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
Yeah, well, Eduardo does because he was a Florida State star.
Oh, okay. I don't care about college. I want to know what you do in the pros. I don't care about college.
Hicks was in the deal. He was the 13th pick in the draft. That's all you need to know about
still
that.
don't care. But Jordan Hicks is a good pitcher. He's solid, so I get that.
I love it.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I started out of high school, too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Show me what you've done at the major league level.
Right. That's right.
And that is why Red Sox fans are like, we gave up Devers for Harrison and Hicks, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you heard Clayton Kershaw right there say the clip before, I know they have a great prospect at first base coming up.
Mm-hmm.
He knew who that was. All of a sudden, the 13th overall pick, he's like, I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Show me what you have done here, because everything else, it does not matter. I don't care what kind of prospect you are. No, until you do it and I'm impressed by you, you don't matter. James Tibbs didn't care, didn't know. But he knew they got a great prospect at first coming up, and that was it.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it was funny. I had that game on. I was like, ooh, Dodgers-Giants. I was getting ready to sit down as the trade happens, and you watch the entire Giants dugout just looking at their phones, like doing remember when Josh Hart was traded, and I
was gonna go more along
Luka.
the lines of Luka
Yeah.
Doncic, with everybody going, no way.
Yeah, like everybody finding out, like going, what? Like doing that. Like there was a lot of that happening.
The Lakers players were at a concert or something. Wasn't
yeah.
that where they were?
Yeah,
Or it was the Suns players.
Suns
it was KD.
players,
Yeah.
No, they were here. The Blazers were playing the Suns.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, no, the Blazers were playing the Suns because I remember that the post game locker room for the Suns was like, the off the record stuff was like, the general tone was, well, if he can be traded, anyone can be traded. Anybody can. It was like there's a little bit of fear that kind of went through the locker room of like, whoo boy. But like, I was talking to some baseball friends of mine. They're like, it's kind of funny. Clayton said at worst top 10. The worst that I heard was at worst he's a top 20 hitter still in baseball. And the Giants really didn't give that much. And it was funny listening to the pregame. They were like, Buster Olney Buster Posey was there in the morning for the game, and he flew back to San Francisco to get this deal done. And if you talk to any Giants fans, they've been the bridesmaid basically in everything, whether it was Ohtani, Vladi, like whoever big free guy that could potentially be got. Their name was always there, but they just never got it done. They really didn't give up a ton to go get a guy who is still possibly one of the best hitters in baseball. And now all of a sudden you start kind of believing in the Giants again.
And they're only 2 games back of the Dodgers for first in the NL West.
Mm-hmm.
They have one of the best records in the NL, still just trailing the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is kind of a move where this season turned around so quickly with Buster Posey at the helm. Now you're looking at a Giants team that's saying, all right, what are the pieces? Again, a franchise that saw something and they said, we're going to go and get it.
And doing it
no matter
earlier.
What, and getting a depressed asset too.
Yeah, and doing it earlier so that you have more time to kind of figure it out instead of waiting till the last second. I thought that was pretty poignant.
It will be interesting to see where it goes, though. And does Devers have an issue with Matt Chapman being on the roster? Will he have an issue with being a DH or playing first?
Platooning first, yeah.
But it's a new environment, and that's the biggest thing, is that new environments mean so much for a lot of these guys. And just that change of scenery can mean so much, especially for a hitter in the game of baseball.
And with the circumstances changing, you're not coming into the team knowing that third base is yours.
Yep.
That
being told, this is you
your
are
team.
the cornerstone of our organization.
And I think that that paradigm shift matters.
Yep.
Normally on Worst Day on the Web, we go for something outside of the world of sports, but we had something happen in the NBA Finals that absolutely, unequivocally deserves a Worst Day on the Web, and that's Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire.
What are we doing?
This is, I don't want to say this is the point, but I'll ask the question, is this the breaking point where the fan base around the NBA collectively tells ESPN to go to hell. We'll get to that next on our Worst Day on the Web. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals coming up tonight from Oklahoma City. Thunder and Pacers tied at 2 games apiece. 31 times now. Previously, the Finals has been tied at 2. The Game 5 winner won the series 23 times. It's a 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage on 910 ESPN. Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9-point favorites. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, now 21 months removed from a second repair of his ulnar collateral ligament. SNY's Andy Martino reports Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton. He's been activated off the injured list and will make his season debut tonight against the Angels. Stanton was shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. And fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcoming in the Red Sox for a 3-game set. Logan Gilbert on the bump, his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th. Presented by your local Toyota dealers. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com. For today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
All right, worst day on the web today, coming out of the NBA Finals. I've made it pretty clear on my stance of the NBA and the product that ESPN puts on TV. And Adam Silver, leading up to Game 3, gets up there on ESPN ABC, and he has the audacity to drop the line that ESPN has always been more about the hardcore basketball than TNT.
No. Well, I think you could have said that.
Yeah, you could have.
A decade ago.
Sure. But definitely not in the last 10 years. Do you want to?
Yeah, we have a no-hitter complete in the Gage Wood for the Arkansas Razorbacks. No hits Murray State in the College World Series.
I think it's the first no-no. I think they ran it on the ticker just a second ago since 1990.
Now we have
third all time in the Men's College World Series.
We have controversies in this though.
Mm.
There's controversies because the first batter for Murray State in the 9th inning, I was trying to figure out because we don't have the audio on. They just were popping back and forth. I think they called that he leaned into a pitch that he got hit.
Plunked on the elbow, and then Arkansas asked for a review.
And he leaned into it, and in college baseball, that's an out. I would have been screwed because that was my getting on base as a child, and I was warned by umpires in Little League, stop leaning into pitches. It would have not gone well for me. But what we do have is a no-hitter in the College World Series by Gage Wood, who was throwing gas.
It pitched 116. He hit 97 on the gun.
Well, that is adrenaline too. That is absolutely crazy. Didn't have a perfecto, but a no-hitter in the College World Series. I'm gonna golf clap that. Golf clap that.
He did carry the perfect game through 7 2/3.
0 walks, plunked a guy, but you know what? Send a message. I'm okay with that. Wait, what? No hitter. That guy was also. This is what I love about college baseball. They lean so far into the personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I love every single bit of
the
it.
Virginia pitcher.
The big donkey.
Yeah. Go.
He's great.
Yes.
But they lean into that. It sucked in the regionals when the Duke player came out of the dugout wearing the hard hat, and he got run from that game and had to sit out the next game.
Yeah.
Just because of a celebrate. Like, get out of there with that. But they're okay with guys hooting, hollering. It's great. I love that about college baseball. And I love that, like, in the game of college baseball, so much of it is you cannot commit. The guy who's a color analyst, he was on the morning game yesterday, the Louisville, Arizona game. He said, college baseball comes down to the team that has the fewest errors. It is not perfect. It's actually can be pretty ugly at times, but the cleaner team ends up winning, and then it's, can you get to the other team's bullpen? Gage Wood went 116 pitches in this game.
19 strikeouts.
Bullpen did not see a single pitch.
Nope.
That is winning baseball. And look, we've seen this before. Oregon State knows a thing or two about this. Having these guys, he's going to get his rest after this type of day. But if they get in that knockout round, they get in the championship series, watch out now, because you're going to see that guy throw 70 pitches, take some time off, and he's going to be like, no, hell no, I'm going to win this game. And if it comes down to game 3, he'll be there pitching. It's not great for your arm, but the competitiveness, I love.
Also, it's dope to see a guy throw damn near 120 pitches again, because it's been so long since I've seen that.
Yeah, it's great.
Like, it's like you and I, all three of us, we grew up with guys that was complete games, like that was normal.
I just hope it doesn't affect him long term, but throwing 97 at the end,
he still had the juice, man. It didn't look like it was falling off.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's get to Stephen A.
Yeah, let's pivot to that next, because we're up against it. So it pivoted into the from the worst day to the best day for the Arkansas Razorbacks and Gage Wood. But we'll push forward. We'll talk about Stephen A. Smith and just the ridiculousness of the NBA, ESPN, and whether or not this is going to be a pivot point for the NBA, because we have a little bit of news from Shams Charania that might have come out of this. Danny and Dusty in the Fan. Well, in case you missed it, at the NBA Finals during Game 4, ESPN's Stephen A. Smith was caught, and at first, it was just a still frame. It was something from Snapchat or WhatsApp or whatever, but it was a still frame. And it was the quote below. It said, "Bro is playing solitaire during the NBA Finals." Now, look, I am not going to beat somebody up if during a timeout
No.
they've got a monitor up and they're watching something else. Look,
No.
when the Portland Trailblazers were beating the Charlotte Hornets by 40-plus points when the Hornets came here, I'm not locked in on every single possession in the fourth quarter. This is the NBA Finals, where you were the broadcast partner, and it turned out the video came out of that screenshot. It was not during a timeout. It was during live action.
And the defense of it was during a timeout. You know?
No,
it
it
wasn't.
And it's not that it's just the NBA Finals and it's live action. It's the NBA Finals that multiple broadcast partners have poo-pooed and downplayed, and it has been one of the best finals that we've had in 25 years.
That is the biggest issue with ESPN's coverage of the NBA now. And it was one of the things that when you mentioned the Adam Silver quote in the previous segment, you said Adam Silver said that, ESPN's coverage has been more for the diehard.
Yeah.
The one thing that ESPN just does not do that TNT lapped ESPN on was they would talk about anything that was relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they go off the beaten path and they knew that they weren't going to get X's and O's on everything? Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But if Indiana or Oklahoma City, or in the rare instance over the last handful of years, the Blazers did anything that was worth noting, they would talk about that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as granular or X's and O's, but they would talk about it. ESPN doesn't do that.
No,
they
it's
just
it's
don't
a legacy
do that.
play. Always. How does this affect LeBron? How does this affect Steph? I was sitting there and I'm like, you know what? Giannis is going to ask out, or the KD trade's going to happen during one of these games. And in that minute 30 halftime that they do, that joke of a halftime show, you're going to get a minute on KD instead of a minute at least on what has been incredible basketball.
It's been back and forth. It has been a time where if you are more for the basketball head, then you can highlight that. But what they've done with this NBA Finals is that they have controlled the narrative that these are two small markets and people shouldn't want to watch, which is wild to me.
It should have no bearing on it whatsoever.
And Stephen A. Smith gets the brunt of this criticism because he is paid ridiculous amounts.
Look, and this is the sidebar that should not matter to you guys, but we work in media and we see people get laid off and we see people lose jobs and we see people lose opportunities. And to see somebody who makes that much money, who the criticism of him is that he doesn't care or that he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not necessarily true. He does care. He does work his butt off.
He does.
You will never catch me saying Stephen A. Smith is lazy in his work. That guy is doing shows at 3:00 in the morning and then traveling midday and going, he works. But in order to make that money, to be that guy, you cannot do that.
Well, I'm just saying that what Stephen A. catches the criticism because he is the $10 million man there, right? But he and Kendrick Perkins have taken the attention off of the game.
Yes.
And they make it about more themselves than they do what's actually being presented on the court, which is really damn good basketball. Competitive finals. We've had home court stolen twice now in 4 games, where it's going back and forth, and they're doing it in a variety of ways. You've had role players step up that these guys would be elevated to the nth degree, whether it is, McConnell or Toppin or Neesmith and
Nembhard.
Well, we're just naming Indiana Pacers right now, but Alex Caruso's had great
Caruso
games.
was the second best player for the Thunder last game.
Wiggins had an incredible game in Oklahoma City where they tried to fight back against Indiana. We've had these role players that would be elevated into these conversations of this is going to make them money. This is going to define their legacy. This is giving their teams a chance. And that's not what we're getting out of this.
You had SGA have a Jordan-esque final 5 minutes. He scored 15 of the final 16 points. He had 0 assists in that game. They shut off his water, and he hits insane shot after insane shot after insane shot.
He went for 35 points with 0 assists in the game. The first person to do it since Jerry West. And you would think that what we saw was 2 rec league teams playing at the YMCA. And that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Like that's what bothers me. And then when you add that to that conversation has been throughout the first 3 games of this finals. And then in game 4, you get that screenshot and it's like, oh, well, you're just not even trying anymore to get out of this series what we should be talking about and what should be propped up as fun basketball, competitive games, haymakers being thrown at the end of it, which should be for riveting television. And it seems like at every single turn, this series is getting downplayed
by its own broadcast partner.
And that sucks.
And
that sucks.
The thing that comes out of this is like, leading up into this, you have the Stanley Cup Finals and NBA Cup, or the NBA Finals kind of going not necessarily head to head. There's been some nights when they're on the same night, but typically they're kind of staggered. But when you're watching the Stanley Cup Finals, Dusty, do you know you're watching the Stanley Cup Finals?
Heck yeah, you do.
There's all the pomp and circumstance. There's the national anthem. There's the singer in the crowd in Edmonton, and the whole arena joins in. It's the individual player introductions. It's all of the pomp and circumstance. The paint under the ice. The pregame intros. Everything. You feel the Super Bowl. There's 4 freaking hours of pregame pomp and circumstance to get you ready for the game. Meanwhile, in the NBA, you get 20 minutes of Kendrick Perkins in a cowboy hat talking about something stupid. And then the game starts, and the only thing you have is this little tiny digital overlay of the Larry O'Brien trophy on the corner. They treat it like it's a game. They gave the NBA Cup more coverage and more pomp and circumstance. They throw down the different floors. They go to Las Vegas. Like you know that there's something different about this game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the NBA Finals, it doesn't feel any different. There's nothing to it until today. Just a little bit ago, Shams Charania breaks the news that in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, ESPN and ABC are going to broadcast both teams' player introductions.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a direct response to, oh crap, the biggest face that our broadcast partner just got caught with his pants down, and now we have to do something to go, no, we care. Let's go ahead and make sure that we show you how much we care. It feels very to do it in Game 5, that's about as reactionary as it gets.
Yeah, they should prop this up a little bit more. Ricky in the YouTube chat, he's saying this series has been incredibly meh. And and he's saying that the back and forth, Indiana, how many times did they lead in the first 2 games? That's what made it great basketball.
Yeah.
Though.
You had a historic finish
And
where
it was back and forth in the fourth quarter when it means the most. And if you watch an NBA game, you know that rubber meets the road in the fourth quarter, and all of these games have been awesome.
The Pacers won a game leading 0.3 seconds of the game.
Yeah.
Which
I
means
don't think
all of the
that's
work
meh.
that leads all the work that leads up to that.
I don't.
In the game on Saturday was incredible.
Yeah.
That was back and forth the entire game. I would argue that the final 4 minutes of that game were the most meh we've had because of how incredible SGA was to close out that game.
And it was finally Oklahoma City turning the tables on Indiana, which has been a fourth quarter juggernaut, in outscoring them. What was it, 31-17 in the fourth quarter?
They'd had, through the first 3 games, they had outscored Oklahoma City by over 20 in the second half combined.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 31-17 in that fourth quarter in Game 4. It's been really fun basketball to watch. And if you don't recognize that,
basketball just might not be for you.
Well, no, but it's the way that everything has been framed leading up to this for everybody. I mean, that is truly how you're sitting there and you're saying this hasn't been exciting basketball. The finishes have been furious. Game 2 being the exception, where still Indiana tried to make that surge, and what Indiana has done throughout the entirety of these playoffs is saying, doesn't matter what that score is heading into the fourth quarter, you better be watching. You better be watching, because they can erase anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen them be historically good in the final minute of basketball games especially. But outside of that game too, we've had slugfest throughout. And that to me is really fun. And it is riveting. We don't have a gentleman's sweep. We don't have a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. This thing is all the makings of a series that's going to go 7 games. We're at least going to get 6 of them. But this is the makings of a 7-game series, which is what everybody begs for. They're not blowouts either way. No. And you have 2 young budding stars. And this is the biggest issue, is that we have this idea that these stars can't be in Oklahoma City or Indiana. And Reggie Miller played for the Indiana Pacers, right?
Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook were young stars in Oklahoma City.
It's just like the framing of all of this, like SGA, what has he done yet? It's like, well, he's won the MVP.
Mm-hmm. And the performance that he had, the last time somebody did that, scored that many points in that stretch to close out a finals game, it's a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
He's good. He's pretty good.
That's how long it's been since we've had somebody do what SGA did.
So we've had incredible individual performances. We've had punches and counter punches from both teams. Fourth quarter comebacks have
coaching
happened.
Adjustments, lineup adjustments. Like, you've had everything that you need. Game winners.
And I am not somebody that will say, no, this is, I think you love the NBA so much. You would say
basketball's
this for
my thing.
Most any series. I'm not like that. And I watch this series and I go, no, this is what everybody begs for in an NBA Finals.
And what happens tonight if the Pacers win Game 5 and steal home court back again?
That's awesome. Then we head to Indiana with potential closeout on their home floor, and Oklahoma City's back at it, trying to have to win 2 in a row to win an NBA title.
I mean, it'd
be great.
It's the fact that we're having to talk about this because the league partner has done such a god-awful job is just such an issue.
But it's the league too.
Yeah.
It's
the
league doing it, and the league they're in a really tough situation where they don't know how to market this finals.
No. We've talked some NBA finals. We've talked around everything else. We haven't talked U.S. Open yet, and we had not the best U.S. Open, but we had a phenomenal walk-off at the U.S. Open. We'll get to that next year. Number 3 on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
I'm like,
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, tonight we got Game 5 of the NBA Finals from Oklahoma City. The Thunder and Pacers tied at 2 games apiece. 31 times previously, the Finals has been tied at 2. The Game 5 winner has won the series 23 of those times. 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9.5 point favorites now. Over on the Diamond, fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcome in the Red Sox for a 3-game set. Logan Gilbert making his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. SNY's Andy Martino reporting Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton has been activated off the injured list and will make his season debut tonight against the Angels. Stanton shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani, he'll make his return to the bump tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, however, now just 21 months removed from a second repair of his ulnar collateral ligament. And from the Men's College World Series. How about that? The third no-hitter in the history of the tournament, served up today by Arkansas's Gage Wood. 9 innings with a men's College World Series record. Try that. 19 strikeouts and a 3-0 win over Murray State. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigart is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Danny Meringue.
And then I went to this movie theater. Then I made a noise like this.
Dusty Hera.
Then this was horrible. All the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other.
I'm beginning to like this kid, Mike.
This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Monday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watch it on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you, love you. Thank you for hanging out with this wonderful Monday. Let's dive into some U.S. Open talk. It wasn't the best tournament we've ever seen. You have one guy, the winner, is the only one that finishes the tournament under par, -1 for J.J. Spaun, and he had to do it on a walk-off.
Don't need to make it. 2 putts.
Absolutely drains a putt in the rain at Oakmont after play was suspended for. Did you see how much water they were pushing off the course?
Yeah,
Good
it
golly.
was a big storm that came through, and that's like one of the things that we just get a nice little steady drizzle out here.
Yeah.
They get it in just buckets out there, and that was crazy to see. And when they had that hour and a half delay, they popped on like the 2008 re-air of the U.S. Open, Tiger Rocco Mediate. The best part about that was the young bucks who had never really seen like prime Tiger golfing before, like, whoa, wait. This is what it was like to watch Tiger? This rocks. It was like, yeah, it did. It was really cool. People started golfing. It was great. It was awesome to watch Tiger Woods. That's why grown men were crying in 2019 when he finally got back over the hump and won another major. Like, yes, it was sweet to have Tiger Woods be really good at golf because he had a flair for the dramatic and he'd made shots that nobody was even attempting at the time. And yeah, he was doing it on a bum leg that year. It kicked ass. And Rocco Mediate, you don't know about him. He was cool too.
Yeah. Best tan line ever.
Yeah, that was awesome to see that and watch the reactions of people on social media because it was truly like, whoa, wait, this is actually awesome. This is
also
great.
Terrifying to think that was 17 years ago.
Yeah, it was, but
it's like,
whatever.
Oh, it doesn't feel that long ago.
Whatever,
oh, sweet God.
Whatever.
But no, we talked about it a little bit earlier on. This course ate everybody up. You had one golfer, J.J. Spaun, finishing under par. There were some hard chargers that were trying to make a difference, but going into Sunday, it was going to be pretty limited, and it gave Spawn some wiggle room to not have to shoot. The best score of the day was two guys putting up a 67. He didn't have to do that because he did the work ahead of time.
No, and that's like the whole thing about the U.S. Open is they want to reward the consistency over the 4 days. And Spawn, like, you thought it was going to fall apart for him, especially early in that round where he bogeys 5 of the first 6 holes. He's 5 over through 6, and you're going, oh boy. Is the pressure getting to him? Come to find out after the round is over, on Father's Day, he was doing the most dad thing ever. He had to go to the CVS at 3 a.m. because his daughter was puking. And so he had to go and get the meds for that at 3 a.m. right before he's playing the final round of the Masters where he's in the hunt. He's probably sitting there like, really? This is the duty I got? Well, yeah, that's dad duty. Got to do it. And then he goes out and wins the whole damn thing. It was awesome. That shot on number 2, though, boy, I thought he was screwed. It was like 60-some yards. He puts it up there, gets some backspin on it, hits the pin, and ends up 43 yards away.
He hits what was damn near an inch perfect shot, only to have it, I think they said it got thrown 49 yards.
That's
when
crazy.
They did the math on it. Came right back at him. It's like, so, yeah, what do you do with a shot that you basically did move it? You pushed it forward 10 yards.
But JJ Spawn is awesome. And I thought NBC did a great job of kind of capturing who he was and just being like, as things were melting down and then he starts whittling his way back into it and he's back at the top of the leaderboard. And they were talking about his relentless positive attitude and the kind of grit that he's gone through. He just like it's Joel Beal, who's Golf Writer. He had a tweet saying that he ran into Spawn 4 years ago at a Muni in Scottsdale, where he was just going through it at that point in his career, just 4 years ago, and he was like kind of at a loss and just trying to find his game again. And then you fast forward 4 years later, he's winning the U.S. Open.
$4.3 million purse.
He's right there 4 years ago with just normal guys on the driving range, which that was probably alarming to anybody around him, just hearing that thwack and just going,
that's different.
Not how my irons sound. Yeah. And you take a look around at him. But that's kind of his career arc. Like, you go back and you see that he had 0 top 20 finishes and missed 10 cuts last year. Last year, he had 0 top 20s and missed 10 cuts, and he's a U.S. Open winner. Like, I love stories like that. And to see him grind through it where some of the best golfers in the world are just melting down in spectacular fashion, and guys like Scotty Scheffler, who was trying to make a charge, he didn't even have enough gas in the tank to get it done.
Because day one ruined him. He shoots a 73 on day one, and he's playing catch-up. I mean, you can't, that's the whole point of golf. You can't throw that round out. But you look at a guy like Scheffler, who's the best golfer in the world right now. He goes, what is it, 71, 70, 70, I think is what it was? Yeah, 71, 70, 70. So consistency after day one, he's there. But he just put himself in a bad position right out of the gate.
I think that JJ Spawn winning is a great testament to kind of what they were all trying to do with the U.S. Open. They make the course insanely hard, and it does open up for the right guy at the right time, where it's not the Schefflers, John Rahm shooting a 67, Rory going off in the final round too. Like, it opens the door for those guys and a JJ Spawn, who's been playing really well, to make his mark and be etched forever in the U.S. Open. Oakmont was a mother, and watching after the rain, the mud spots that were out there, guys just sitting there. And Sam Burns, I feel terrible for Burns because he seems like a good dude too. And by all accounts, he is. That guy, when it came down to after the rain delay, it was raining again, and he had his ball was in a spot where he wanted relief from it, and the rules official told him no. I saw somebody with their phone camera walked up to that same spot after he'd passed, and they were just stepping on the ground. It was
standing
soaking.
Water.
Like, it would go like an inch of water would just pop up, and he's like, no relief there, buddy. So the course was already insanely hard, and then it was made even more difficult when that rain came down.
I saw SVP retweeted that particular tweet and said, I would have been arrested.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just like, you see the ball was funneling in the same spots. So how many times have we seen the final round? They'd have the camera do the close up and be like, well, he's in a divot right here. And it's just like, dude, what are you going to do?
they were like, play it as it lies. It's like, all right.
Crazy.
It also, the condition of the course, I think that highlights how insane of a putt Spawn hit to close that thing out.
Yeah, 64 is pretty ridiculous.
On greens that are supposed to be dumb fast, and now all of a sudden you've got standing water out there. And yes, they can drain them, and I'm sure they were doing that, but the consistency has to change so much.
That was Victor Hovland, his playing partner yesterday, right? He gave him a pretty good look at that putt right before it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the speed is what nobody was able to get, especially on putts that long. And after it rains, like, you get adjusted to speed of those greens, where there were some holes where these guys are just tapping the ball and it's just taking off. Other holes, they're having to give it a ride uphill, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get this one. Did you see Tyrell Hatton after?
Mm-mm.
So Tyrell Hatton, who cusses himself out all the time, and he had a great line saying something to the effect of, I like the U.S. Open because everybody talks like I normally do on a course, where he's just cussing at himself all the time. He was like super down on himself. He bogeyed the last 2 holes. He thought, like, I screwed the opportunity. Like, if I would have just, parred those out or get a birdie on one of them, like, I'm in contention to be in a playoff. He was at the podium talking about his round, and he was dejected when Spawn hit the final putt.
I sat in dining. Oh, he's hold it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Unbelievable. What a putt to win. That's incredible.
You could see his face went from, I just got my puppy kicked right in front of my face, to, well, it doesn't sting that bad. He made that in a one putt. Like, I wouldn't have been in there anyways.
It's
like,
fine now.
Totally fine. Last 2 holes, whatever. Like, no matter what, that guy won that tournament. Good for him. Like, he was just, all right, cool.
It's funny. It just, like that, changed on a dime.
That course will do that to you, man.
So
that was I know a lot of people don't like when they dial up the course that much. I thought it was fun.
I do for this event. I like, again,
don't give it to me every week.
No, this is not the standard. Look, you want to give me the Sawgrass where guys go nuts and have some fun, or that's Waste Management, right?
Yeah.
What was it? Valero's the other one where the scores go bonkers crazy.
Yeah.
Those are fun too. But I also don't want guys shooting 19 below. On courses. Like, it's nice to have a little give and take with those, with some in betweens to work with at the other majors.
Did feel bad for Adam Scott. I like Adam Scott. I don't know what it is about Adam Scott.
You just like his face.
I don't know. I was like, I hope he does well today. I hope he does well today. To which my son just looked at me and said, "What? What's wrong with you, Dad? You don't want America to win?" I was like, well, I do, but it's not the end of the world. Like, if an Australian wins, I'm fine with it.
Also, 79 is a rough way to go out.
It was.
It's a rough way to. Who was it that shot the 80? Philip Barbary, 82, round 4.
They were talking about, like, how Adam Scott would have been the longest duration between 2 majors, and I was like, that'd be a cool story. Well, that didn't last long.
And also, it would have been 2 majors, though.
Yeah, it would have been great.
So
it would have been great.
Another big event that happened over the weekend was the NBA Finals in Game 4. We haven't actually talked about that game, really. Let's dive into Game 4 and look ahead to Game 5 coming up here next on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. The NBA Finals, Game 4, Indiana Pacers, Oklahoma City Thunder. Didn't come down to the wire, but for the first time, you saw the Indiana Pacers really jump out and grab a hold of a game and feel like they were in control. There was a point in the fourth quarter where they had a 7-point lead, but I want to say with about 6 minutes to go. And I'm looking at that. They had just pushed it out. I think they eventually got it to 9. And I tweeted out something along the lines of, this feels like one of the biggest, smallest 7-point leads I've ever seen, because Oklahoma City was just getting slammed. Every single time someone named Alex Caruso didn't deliver for them.
And it was in the paint, man. Like that is where Indiana was it? Halliburton was what, 6 of 7 inside the paint?
He was murdering that high glass layup and that floater.
And you saw that the length of Oklahoma City, Indiana was trying to move the ball and create the mismatches where they could get a lane just to get in and get that free shot. Like that high floater that Hallie has in his bag.
It's incredible.
It's dangerous, but that's how you eliminate Chet Holmgren, right? That's how you eliminate help side defense coming over and just sending it into row 3 is he just floats it up. It's like,
goes at the 15 feet. Nobody's getting up there.
The thing is, you need to create enough separation to get him
to that spot,
the space to where he can go. And OKC had been doing a really good job of trying to take that away as often as they could. He got that spot in that 7-point lead. You're right. It was like nothing ever feels comfortable in this series.
No.
But the fact that we knew that Indiana come fourth quarters was a team that just stomps you into the ground. That was kind of looming in the back of the head. It was like, all right, when's it coming? When's it coming? And OKC flipped the script in that fourth quarter, and here come the Thunder taking a page out of Indy's playbook in Indianapolis. Like that was a phenomenal fourth quarter by the Thunder, and mainly SGA.
Yeah.
I mean, when he scores half your points in that 31-point quarter, that's a day at the office. And then you saw what that creation does for everybody else. He didn't have to have an assist. He didn't have to, because everybody was focused on him.
It was elite level shot making. And as good as SGA was in this game and has been in this series and MVP, all those kind of things, he MVP'd down the stretch. The second best player in that game for the Oklahoma City Thunder was not Chet Holmgren. It wasn't Jalen Williams. Alex Caruso kept them in range all game long. Every single freaking time the Indiana Pacers threatened to push this thing to 10, 12, 15, there's Caruso knocking down a 3. There's Caruso with a putback dunk. There's Caruso with a steal that turns into transition opportunity, an easy bucket on the other end. There's Caruso getting deflection. There's Caruso tipping out a rebound. You're just sitting there going, everything he did almost every single time was secondary self-creation. It wasn't Shea driving and kicking or Jalen driving and kicking to him. It was the ball. He found the ball. And when he found the ball, he did something with it. It wasn't hezzy, tween, drive. It was a rebound putback. It was a loose ball, gather, knock down a 3. And it was just like, how is this guy around the ball this much all game long?
And if you would have told me prior to this series along those lines, like he made a 3. A singular 3.
Like that meant everything for them.
It was when they made the shots. If you would have told me before this series that Oklahoma City shoots 19% from 3 in a game, if they only make 3 3-pointers in a game,
SGA has 0 assists.
Or if no player makes more than 1 3 on the Thunder roster, any of those 3, I would have told you, yeah, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what all 3 of those happened in game 4. They won that game. They won a game shooting 19% from 3, only making 3 total 3-pointers in the game, and no player made more than 1 in the entire game. That would have been a recipe for Oklahoma City, not just to lose, but to get the doors blown off them. I will give them credit because they did something that most NBA teams won't do, which is they said, we can't shoot 3s. They only attempted 16 of them on the entire game.
And that's a credit to the Pacers.
It's a huge credit to the Pacers, but it's also a credit to Oklahoma City not to say, we are going to just try to chuck them up. Because you shoot that poorly, you have guys that are like, we're going to get as many up that we can because they're about to fall, right? Yeah. It's bound to fall. It's a game of a law of averages here tells us we will start making some of these contested or not. They were contested, and they just said, screw it. We're going to take what they're giving us. And they got inside, and SGA just said, nobody else is touching this ball. It's only going to be me. And it worked.
The thing that stood out for me is, and this is not, again, taking credit away from the Thunder, because what SGA did on the stretch was incredible. The Pacers stopped doing in the fourth quarter, halfway through, from like the 9-minute mark to the 5-minute mark. They stopped doing what has been the mark for them, which is working for shots off of paint touches. There were so many possessions where it was 1, 2, maybe 3 passes, if you include all the passes in the backcourt. Get up a 3. Get up a 3. Get up a 3. Neesmith had 2. Turner had 2 or 3. Nembhard had 1. Hallie had 1. And I'm just like, I don't like this. You're settling. Get feet in paint, then kick. And look, this is not Miles Turner's fault that they lost this game, because he hit that step back that looked like, if you squinted, LaMarcus Aldridge doing his step back. I was like, when did you get that in your bag, dude?
Yeah, I don't think he has it. It's just sometimes it appears.
Oh, it was straight cash too. Like, feet were on balance, just step back, gather, lean, fall, cash out. And I was like, because I literally tweeted out, Miles, please. And the next possession, he hits that shot. I was like, thank you. Because he had bricked 3 straight wide open looks.
Brutal,
and you're
dude.
just like, I think he finished 3 of 10 on the evening. Yeah, 3 of 10, 0 for 6 from 3. And the Pacers didn't shoot well from 3. They're 11 of 36, 31%. If this is very similar to game 1 in the sense of, remember, the Pacers turned the ball over 19 times. Well, if they don't turn the ball over, what do? Well, the Pacers shoot 3 of 16 from 3. Well, what happens if they hit their threes at a normal clip? You know, it's like, you can make the argument for either team on both sides of it. It's like, well, if Miles Turner just goes 2 of 6 from 3 and hits 1 more 2 on looks, he was getting good looks. Hallie was spoon feeding him looks, but it was more perimeter oriented passing as opposed to feet in the paint passing. And that, when the Pacers are at their best, it's in transition and feet in the paint. And I'm very, very, very interested to see what Rick Carlisle does offensively, if anything differently, in this game tonight, and how the Thunder are going to try to unlock SGA or anybody else's playmaking. Because before SGA took over in the fourth quarter, I said they've got to find a way to get Isaiah Joe out there or somebody else who can dribble, pass, and shoot, because Indiana has solved SGA as a playmaker. And I think if you replay this game 100 times, the Pacers are winning the vast majority of those games based on this kind of defensive performance and limiting SGA and saying, we're going to live with you cooking. We're just going to take away everything else.
Desperation's a hell of a thing, though, and they had to steal home court back.
Yep, and that's exactly where we are now as we get into Game 5. What do the Oklahoma City Thunder have to do to take hold of this series for the first time? We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals coming up tonight from Oklahoma City. The Thunder and Pacers tied at 2 games each. 31 times previously, the Finals has been tied at 2. The Game 5 winner has won the series 23 of those times. 5:30 tip on ABC. Coverage on 910 ESPN. Portland starts at 4:30. The Thunder are 9.5-point favorites. Over in baseball, fresh off a 3-game sweep of the Guardians, the Mariners welcome in the Red Sox for a 3-game set. Logan Gilbert on the bump. It's his first appearance for Seattle since April 25th. Lucas Giolito starting for Boston. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight against the Padres. He's expected to throw only an inning or two, 21 months removed from a second repair of his ulnar collateral ligament. SNY's Andy Martino reporting Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton has been activated off the injured list and will make his season debut tonight against the Angels. Stanton was shut down in spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. And the third no-hitter in men's College World Series history served up today by Arkansas's Gage Wood. 9 innings with a men's College World Series record, 19 strikeouts in a 3-0 win over Murray State. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan.
The NBA Finals are getting back underway after returning back to OKC for Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Series is tied up 2-2. All of those folks out there that had their money on Thunder in 5, well, you're cooked. That's not going to happen. You can throw that away. But I'm very interested to see because, to me at least, the narrative has flipped on this series in general from what it was the day before the game or the minutes before Game 1 and where we are now, where this is going to be a coronation process for the Thunder in 5, Thunder in 6. You know, it's going to be whatever it is. Even if it ends up being Thunder in 6, they would have earned it at this point, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this is not a, well, it's a 4-2 series, but it wasn't really. Like, no, this is a series.
They've had to grind out every single game.
And with that said, it does feel like, at least to me, even though this is a tie series, this feels like this is the Pacers series to lose. As insane as that may sound, with how good they've played in, like, again, the final couple minutes of Game 4, it took otherworldly performance from SGA to put the Thunder in a position where they're not fighting for their lives tonight.
Stealing home court, obviously, in Game 1, that right there made it Indiana's series. And I didn't understand after Game 1, the immediacy it was, well, this is still going to be the Thunder, just going to be too much because of the way that game played out in Game 1. Now you look at it and you say, all right, OKC pounded them in Game 2, especially, but down the stretch, you know, the Thunder tried to make a little push, or the Pacers tried to make a push, and then they called off the dogs. OKC goes right back to Indiana, lose again. And it was a furious finish for Indiana. Game 4, they had to grind it out, and then they had to flip the script on Indiana in Game 4 and say, no, this fourth quarter is ours. Now you have Game 5, where this is where series get really good because you've had feeling out process, the punch, the counter punch. Now it is, all right, it's haymakers the final 3 games, and you've already had home court stolen once. It's different when it's like, all right, you hold serve, and then the other team holds serve, and they win on their home court. And if you're going to play that game, that's fine. Each team has won on the road so far. As we're entering Game 5 tonight, nothing is safe for Oklahoma City. And the fact that they went into that same building in Game 1 and won that game, Indiana, it does kind of control the dice, even though home court is not in their cards if they want to close this thing out in 7, but they can do it in 6. They win the next 2. Watch out.
It's 0-0. It's a best-of-3 series now. And this is where I think it really matters. And this is where it's going to be really interesting to see, is this an adjustments period or is this a dudes period? Because the dudes have shown up for the Pacers. Pascal Siakam has been very good. Tyrese Halliburton has been very good. The role players have been very consistent. You've gotten some monster role player games from Ben Mathurin and TJ McConnell. But you've got some massive role player games from the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know whose name you haven't really heard this series? Lu Dort.
The Dorture Chamber.
And don't be wrong. He's been very good defensively, but it's been about Caruso. It's been about Wiggins. It's been about, Jalen Williams finding his game in some periods. It was about Chet in the first half, giving them some opportunities. Was at Game 3. And I'm really interested to see which way this series goes. Is it about the micro and the minor adjustments, the little tweaks here or there, or is it about dudes really showing up? Does Chet finally have a game for 4 quarters? And, we talk about SGA and how good he was in that fourth quarter. Chet's ability to come over and make help plays defensively down the stretch was massive. Massive.
Lu Dort having a offensive game. It's not like it's foreign territory for him. He can do it. It does feel like he is kind of due for one of those games. But the way that Caruso has been playing, and it wasn't just, he was spectacular in Game 4. The timely nature of his makes, but he has just been solid throughout.
You can make an argument that he's been their second best player in the series.
Yeah. Yes.
Legitimately.
But they don't need him to be Caruso. What they need him to do is to pick up the punch when Jalen Williams is having an off night, or Chet Holmgren, who he comes and goes in these weird waves, is not having a great night. They need Lou Dort to be that guy, especially at home. That's where a guy like him really makes their imprint on a finals game. At home, everybody else has pulled their weight at some point in the game, whether it's Wiggins or anybody else. This is where a Lou Dort going off, and it's like 15. He goes for 15.
Yeah, we're not asking for
efficient.
a 40 piece, but like
15 and efficient.
Knock down 3 out of 5 or 6 threes.
The crazy part is if Indiana wants to wrap this thing up in the next 2, not head back to Oklahoma City at all. Oklahoma City has lost back-to-back games twice.
Mm-hmm.
They've played 102 games this year.
Doesn't happen very often.
They did it in April near the end of the year when they had 2 games, one against the Lakers, one against the Rockets, and then and that was April 4th and 6th. Prior to that, it was November 17th and 19th they lost basketball games. They don't do it very often. Well, first of all, they don't lose very often.
No.
But they don't lose back-to-back games very often.
The Indiana Pacers, I think the last time they lost back-to-back games was March 8th, if I remember correctly.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute. If you look at how the Pacers closed the season, basically post-All-Star break on, I think they were the second best team in basketball behind the Thunder.
Yeah. That sounds right.
So, yeah, it's... both these teams.
Yeah, March 6th through the 10th, they lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, they've been really damn good.
So 3 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
I mean, it's just both these teams are playing incredible basketball, and we talk about all the different things that you can talk about in this series. What I'm interested in is, can Oklahoma City grab a hold where it feels like it's their series again? Because it hasn't felt that way since before Game 1 tipped.
Yeah.
And you can make the argument that most of Game 1 until Indiana makes that hard charge, but this feels like if it's going to be very interesting if the Pacers can get this game again. Remember, this is a Thunder team that lost to the Eastern Conference once all season. They've lost to the Pacers twice.
All right, let's go, baby. We're not going to know how this game's going to go till probably the 3-minute mark.
In the fourth quarter.
But even then, it'll still be up in the air because we don't know how Indiana's going to go. If they're on Game 4 Indiana Pacers, might be in trouble.
I will say this. The line right now is Oklahoma City, 9.5.
What?
I don't get it. I just don't. The Thunder padded their lead there at the end of the game and covered after the Mathurin missed 3 of 4 free throws, which, those are some pricey free throws for some folks. But yeah, 9.5, that feels way too big for what this series has been.
I don't get that.
So we'll see where that goes. We're going to wrap up today's show with some fun with audio and everyone's favorite football family, the Harbaughs. Next on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
I'm in control.
All right, quick reminder, your local Toyota dealers present the 11th Annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms, brought to you by Henderson & Daughter Windows and Doors, Philbrook Law, Accident and Injury Lawyers. We only have a couple spots left for the morning round. Afternoon flight is booked. It is not this Tuesday. It is next Tuesday, June 24th. Victor Rico's out there with the breakfast burritos. Matt's Barbecue got you set after your round. Toyota sponsoring a hole-in-one challenge on the 13th.
Yeah.
Get out
That's
there.
the 13th hole.
13th
Not
hole.
the 13th
Not the 13th
of this
day.
month. That was 3 days ago.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yep.
Get out there, get it done. Go to 1080thefan.com, click on the Fan Golf Classic, and grab one of our few remaining spots. All right, I want to get out of here on this. They had old Sudeikis up there talking about Ted Lasso and the realism that he brought to the Ted Lasso character. He reached out to Jim Harbaugh, and through a DM got this.
What did you borrow from Coach Harbaugh?
I'm going to tell you exactly what he wrote. This is what I write. Hey, Coach, how are you? Writing you from jolly old England. This is September 4th, 2019. As we're in the middle of filming episode 2 of that Ted Lasso show I'm doing for Apple. So far, so good, I think. This emoji. I had a small, silly question for you. On game days, what do you actually wear to and from the stadium? I wear the same clothes every day, khakis and a blue sweatshirt. Same to the game that I coach in, and will wear the same thing to post-interview and then home as well. No shower unless it's really hot or really cold outside or raining. In that case, our equipment manager has a duplicate pair of everything I wear in my locker, so I put that on to wear back on the plane or home, and always a new pair of socks and a different underwear. There's always a locker with extra layers for cold games plus long johns. That's the routine for road games and home games. I pack a playbook, call sheet, and a toothbrush, and wear the rest of what I need. As I like to say, I pack a toothbrush and a great attitude. I said, man, oh man, Coach, this is so friggin' helpful. Thank you for taking the time to holler back and giving such a thoughtful and thorough answer. Boom. That's it.
Isn't that something?
Is that not the most Jim Harbaugh response you've ever heard?
Well, it's the easy one. He is a thoughtful response, according to Sudeikis. That's just how he's wired. It's the program that he spits out. It's the formula that's spit out by Jim Harbaugh is, oh no, this is just what I wear. What I wear is what I wear. I wear it on the plane. I wear it to the game. I wear it on the bus. I'm not going to do anything. And to have the exact same thing packed by his equipment staff is also the least surprising thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be no Joe Paterno where he's waddling off the field as the first half is winding down. Everybody's like, where's Joe Pa going? And all of a sudden he comes back in different drawers. No, it will be the same ones because you'll never know. You will never know until in the post game where the circle of trust and the honesty chamber is open and he goes, yeah, I pooped my pants. That will be Harbaugh though, because he's not going to be filtered in anything that he says.
No, and
I love that about it.
I love that he's like, I pack a toothbrush and a great attitude.
That is, and Sudeikis took that to heart, and that is Ted Lasso through
Channeled
and through.
Channeled it 100%.
That is 100% who he is on that show. That's a great show.
It's
phenomenal.
If you had told me that there was things that were based off Jim Harbaugh after watching Ted Lasso, I'd be like, I don't know, man. But when you actually dig into it, it's like, it's just more of a smile or less of an insidious smile.
Well, he's not insane.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh is insane.
There's something more behind the eyes with Sudeikis as opposed to Harbaugh, where you're just like, that's an insane person. He's my kind of insane person, but
Harbaugh doing if you don't like football, then you probably don't like me, and I probably don't like you. Yeah. Lasso is I still appreciate everybody.
Goldfish.
I appreciate absolutely everyone. If Jim Harbaugh was telling people to be goldfish, 100% I could see that happening. Like walking up to his kicker before a kick, being like, hey, be goldfish. Go do it. All right, let's go. I love Jim Harbaugh.
We got to get Harbaugh make a cameo.
Well, in the new one where he's a women's coach in the U.S., he'd probably do it. He's not going to England.
No.
I mean, that's an international incident waiting to happen if he ever were to go over there.
Well, I mean, they might send him there eventually, the old NFL.
I think they have. Don't they have a game over there this year?
Yeah,
I think they do. I think they do.
Dun, dun, dun.
Look, kids, Big Ben. All right. That does it for us today on a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow from noon to 3. Hey, have a great Monday, everybody. Up next, 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears is Prime Time with Isaac and Souk right here on The Fan.
Bye. Go just meet up with some random dudes and have a good time.
The Portland Trail Blazers are for sale.
Oh my God, this is the best day since? How long has it been since I've felt positive?
Which means a new